Well, hello and good afternoon. Thank you all for being here. And I know it's hot, and I appreciate your patience of being out here to cover this important story. My name is Robert Sumwalt, and I'm a board member with the National Transportation Safety Board. And with us today is Mike Flanagan. Mike is the NTSB's investigator in charge for this accident. Mike has he's a senior investigator with over 35 years of rail experience. The NTSB's investigative GO team arrived around noon today. We flew in from Washington to begin the investigation of this UP train collision and BNSF train. The collapse, of course, resulted in the collision resulted in the collapse of this highway bridge. Now, the NTSB, we are an independent federal agency charged by Congress to investigate transportation accidents, to determine the probable cause, and then to issue safety recommendations to prevent the reoccurrence of future accidents. And before I go any further, on behalf of the NTSB, I would like to extend our condolences to the family and friends of those who've been affected by this accident. Here's the factual information that we have as of right now. At approximately 2:30 Central Daylight Time, a Union Pacific train and a BNSF train were involved in a collision at a railroad crossing in the unincorporated area of Scott County. The information regarding injuries stemming from this accident will be released by the local authorities. The NTSB responded with a GO team from Washington consisting of seven employees, seven investigators from the NTSB. Five of us flew in from Washington today. Another will be arriving tonight from our Office of Highway Safety in our Texas office, and yet another one will be coming in later tonight, also traveling in from Washington. Let me describe the scene if I can. We've got a UP track and a UP train UP train is traveling on a track heading basically in a westerly direction. And we've got a BNSF train that is traveling on a track oriented in about a southeasterly direction. The two tracks intersect at about a 120-degree angle. The BNSF train was moving down its track when the UP train collided with some of the cars of the BNSF train. The BNSF train had 2 locomotives and 60 cars, while the UP train had 3 locomotives and 75 cars. Each of the trains had 2 crew members, an engineer and a conductor. As I mentioned, the UP train collided with somewhere towards the middle area of the BNSF train. Now, we've gone out and we've looked at it. We've taken a good preliminary walkthrough of the main part of the wreckage. The UP leading locomotive is lying on its left side. It's basically intact. The survivability of the survivable area of the locomotive cab is basically unscathed. So the survivability of it was not crushed. It's just basically lying on its side. And out in front of this locomotive cab, lying on its left side, you can see where it would have run into the side of one of the BNSF cars. That car was apparently carrying scrap metal, and so there's scrap metal that's strewn around the wreckage area. And even the second locomotive of the UP train has come up and gone out in front of the leading locomotive. So it looks like the leading locomotive turned on its left side, and the second locomotive came up and was sort of juxtaposed in front of and to the right side of the UP train locomotive. Now, the cars that have derailed, 11 cars from the UP train derailed, and 2 locomotives. And with the BNSF, there were 13 cars that derailed. In addition, on the bridge, the Highway M bridge, there were 2 automobiles on the bridge, and after the collision, there was a post-impact diesel-fed fire. Our team of NTSB investigators will be examining the following areas. We'll be looking at the mechanical condition of both trains, things like the braking system and the locomotive power. We'll be looking at the condition of the track. We'll be looking at the signals. As you probably know, railroads have traffic signals just like we have on our streets. And so we'll be looking at the traffic signals, the train control signals, to see what they were displaying, what aspects, what signals were they displaying. We can download these signals, have signal event recorders that we can download and see what they were displaying, what colors they were displaying. And we will also be conducting testing and inspecting of those signals as well. So we will be downloading those signal recorders we'll be downloading the signal recorders. We'll also be looking at the operating procedures of both railroads. We'll determine what the procedures were the procedures followed, and we'll be looking at the performance of the train crews. What time did they show up for work? What was their schedule like in the last few days? Typically, we go back and look at the last 72 hours. We'll be interviewing the train crews to see what they have to tell us. We'll also be looking at the survival factors, such as the injuries that resulted from the accident. As I mentioned, the cab of the UP train appears to be mostly intact or very much intact, but we want to look and see if there are other factors that may have contributed or even minimized the injuries. As I mentioned, we have an investigator from our Office of Highway Safety who is traveling from our Texas office. He will be here this evening. He will be looking at the highway overpass and issues associated with that. And also the Federal Railroad Administration is sending a representative, a bridge specialist, to be looking at the bridge issues as well. Now, both trains were equipped with recorders. We have a video recorder, a forward-facing video camera that is on the front end of the train that is looking out towards the track. They're called track image recorders. And we also have data recorders that will record things like the speed, braking, throttle movement, horn signaling, when the bell was turned on and off. So things like that we can get from the recorders. Let me tell you just a little bit about the track image recorder. We gained access to. We climbed inside of the locomotive, the UP locomotive that was turned on its side. We got that black box, if you will. We took it and looked at it. Took a preliminary look at that video, and that's part of the reason we're running late today, is we wanted to get a good preliminary look at that video. And just in general terms, I would say that the granularity of that video is good. It's a black and white only video, and as a track image recorder, it is only looking forward of the train, looking down the track. It is not a type of recorder that would capture or record what's going on inside of the locomotive cab. But generally, we have information that shows the train moving down the track up to and including the point of the collision. Now, we came out here on a government plane this morning and landed at Cape Girardeau Airport, and we held that airplane so that those recorders, once we got them, could be transported immediately back towards Washington. In fact, as we speak, that airplane is en route to Washington. It will be met at the Washington airport, at the Reagan Washington National Airport this evening by an NTSB specialist that will take charge of them, take custody of them, and they will be transported to our laboratory in Washington, D.C. We will use this information from the event data recorder and from the image recorder, the track image recorder, and we will corroborate that with all other information that we have. Information that we get from the signal recorders, information that we get from the interviews. So we don't just take one piece of information. We take all pieces of information and try and see how it fits into and explains the event. Throughout the next few days, our investigators will be working on scene to thoroughly document the wreckage, document the location of the cars, how they ended up, the damage to the track. We're here basically, I like to say we're here to gather factual information, or I call it the perishable information, that information that can go away with the passage of time. And certainly the railroads want to get this track up, these tracks up and running again. So they're going to want to be moving the rolling stock. They're going to want to be getting that moved quickly. So we want to get out there and damage this, what we can. We want to document what we can now. Things like crew interviews, those fade with the passage of time. So we're here basically to collect the perishable information. We're not here while we're on scene. We will not determine the cause of the accident. We will not speculate on the accident. We're here basically just on a fact-finding mission so that when we do go back to Washington headquarters, then our investigators can continue with other factual information and then begin the analysis. Our mission is not only to understand what happened. I think we know what happened. Two trains collided, and that should not have happened. So we're here not to find out just what happened, but more significantly why it happened, so that we can prevent it from happening again. We expect that our investigators will be on scene anywhere from about 4 to 7 days. Some will come and get their information and then leave in a couple of days. Others will take a little bit longer. So actually, I feel that for the fact that we just arrived on the ground less than 6 hours ago, I feel like we're really off to a very good start. But we're just beginning the investigation, so we don't have any more information other than what I've told you. But we will be keeping you informed as we learn information. And for the latest information on the media briefings, I would encourage you to follow us on Twitter, and that is Twitter at NTSB, or on our website, which is www.ntsb.gov. And one final comment, I'd really like to thank the first responders, those folks that were out here during the early hours, putting out the fire and helping with those who were injured. We certainly appreciate all of their efforts, as well as the efforts of all of those employees of both of the railroads and the local and state officials and federal officials who've been here to assist us so far. So this evening we'll be putting together an organizational meeting. We'll be putting together our investigative groups. We're just beginning, but we're off to a very good start. And I'll be glad to answer your questions if you have any.
At this point, from the recordings that you all have been able to view, does it appear that there was some type of operator error, for instance, maybe someone missing a sign or a warning or the like?
Well, the question is, what are we able to determine from that, the video that we've seen, the track image recorder? Does it point out any type of operator error? And that is exactly why we are here, is to carefully to start gathering the information, but we're not here to speculate and say that it might have been this or that. But we've just taken a very preliminary look just so we could report to you that we've seen it, it's good quality, it's black and white, but we have not done, nor will we do while we're here, any type of analysis. But thank you for your question.
Mr. Sumwalt, one thing you were talking about, different areas you're going to investigate.
the lights, the tracks, all the above on that. The one thing that you didn't mention was kind of the past history. We've reported on 6 train derailments, like around this area, or not, excuse me, 3 train derailments in 6 months. Does that factor into the investigation at all?
Well, the question is, have there been a number of other derailments? Is that factoring into our investigation? And we are here really to look at the specific factors concerning this event, and then if we see any systemic issues, any larger systemic issues, then we can start to connect the dots. But before we can draw any picture at all, if there is a picture to be drawn, we've got to figure out what happened on this particular one. So we're just here to look at this one, and then if there are systemic issues, we will address those as our investigation continues.
What's the game plan for tonight? How late are you guys going to be out here?
The game plan for tonight, we will have an organizational meeting in 1 hour, and that's where we gather all of the groups that will be participating with us. We start to put together groups, like I mentioned, what each discipline is. So we'll have a group for each of those. We'll have one for mechanical. We'll have a group for signals. We'll have one for track. We'll have one for operations and human performance. So we'll be putting together those groups, and we will be assigning parties to the investigation. The railroads will be here to help us gather information. Who has better access to the crew records, for example, the training records, other than the railroads? So they will be helping us gather factual information. So this evening, Mike and his group, his investigators, will start laying out the game plan for the investigation to move forward tomorrow.
One more question. I want to ask Mike a question, if you don't mind.
Well, I'm the spokesperson. Okay. If you've got a question.
As far as level of, I guess my question is, it seems like a pretty severe train derailment with a bridge collapse. Is it safe to say this is how would you describe, I guess?
How would I describe this event that we're here to investigate? And I'll start out by saying that I feel very lucky that we have no fatalities involved. It's still something that should not happen. 2 trains should not be at the same place at the same time. And so we're anytime we have something like that, we're very concerned about it. So that's why we're here. We're here to find out what happened so that we can learn from it and keep it from happening again. I want to thank you very much for being here. Terry's call for the last question.